Now, you're up to date on what happened across the continent. Let me bring you back to Kenyan election losers are bearing the financial burden of election petition, costs running into millions of shillings. Now, the most recent being that of 10 million shillings slapped on Wavinya, Ndeti and Karua. But just what has occasioned the sudden surge in punitive cost of election petitions? And is it meant to silence potential petitioners? Murimi Mwangi interrogates this for us. Take a look.
A mix of celebrations and gloom as courts continue disposing the 277 petitions filed after the August 8th general election. While the speed at which the petitions are being dispensed with is welcome, poll losers are a worried lot. They are now forced to shoulder the burden of costs running into millions of shillings. An example is Busia voter Peter Odima's 12 million after he lost a petition challenging Governor Peter Ojamong's election. The court ordered him to split the figure into 3 batches of 4 million each. One to pay Governor Ojamong, another for electoral body IEBC, and the other for county returning officer Frederick Apopa. The predicament is too familiar for former legislators Wavinya Ndeti and Karua, who are both shouldering costs of 10 million each after losing election petitions against Governors Alfred Mutua of Machakos and Kirinyagas Anne Waiguru respectively.
Watu wa Machakos nawaambia wajamani, Wavinya na Wavinya. Chukueni nguvu, haya mambo we are going to revisit.
So are these costs too high?
You can, it's not allowed.
According to lawyer George Kithi, there's nothing out of the ordinary.
Ordinary documentation is also charged. Many other things like time taken, because sometimes it's the time that has been taken. At times, because even the words, the prints itself, because you see, you count the words when you want to be paid.
You know. But former Bomet MP Nick Salat knows too well the financial repercussions of election petitions. After the 2013 polls, Salat was staring at an imminent bankruptcy after the Supreme Court hit him with 67 million shillings in costs, following a protracted election petition challenging the election of former Bomet Senator Professor Wilfred Lesan. This went in history as the highest cost to be awarded in an election petition before he went back to the High Court to challenge the costs.
So the case was heard in Kericho, and after taxation, we were given 3 million shillings to pay, which we split that to the 2 parties that were defending the election, which is the petitioner, not the defendant, and the IEBC.
Because of inflation, in the next cycle of 5 years after election, it's going to go high by an estimated percentage of such inflation. That is another way of how then the costs keep on going up.
Judiciary insiders say this trend could be a move to discourage jokers from moving to court after future elections. But politicians say it could be turned into a weapon to finish opponents before the next political duel.
You must consider 2 issues. One is the cost of the campaign itself and eventually the electioneering exercise in its totality, and the possibility that you may have to go through a court process. Invariably, we're in a very litigious society.
Like the case, I think, was it in Busia? That's a lot of money, and it really puts seeking justice to be expensive.
Murimi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.